Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today is potentially the most exciting Mattel review for me ever because, as you can quite clearly see by the words before you, we are going to take a look at the Super Colossal Carnotaurus Toro. This figure looks amazing, absolutely awesome. And I have to give a gigantic shout out to TGR Racer on Instagram, as he is the one that helped me to acquire this figure a bit early, because this figure has actually started to show up at a few different targets in the United States. However, it's not actually due out, I believe, until around the 20th of this month. So he had actually scored one for himself at his local Target, and then he had told me all about this amazing score, and he had told me that there was also an extra one there, so I had him go back and acquire it for me and send it my way, and I in no way, shape, or form regret that decision, because even though it's about to start hitting shelves, I just couldn't wait any longer to get this beautiful looking Carnotaurus in my hands and in my collection, and I must say that it looks insanely nice here in person. This is the fourth Super Colossal figure from the Mattel line, and it took them 4 tries to get my favorite dinosaur out, but here we are. As far as the figure, what we can see is just basically the upper body and the head, and it looks really awesome. The rest of the box here on the front has an image of a child playing with the Carnotaurus down here, and of course the name of the dinosaur. And then we have the Dino Escape logo over here. This, I believe, is actually my first Dino Escape figure, so that's pretty awesome. And then we have actually Carnotaurus Toro right here and Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. And then on the back of the box we have a look at the Carnotaurus again, and then some more images of some of the fun features of your Carnotaurus, as well as an image down here kind of promoting some of the minifigures, and we can see quite a few of the new ones are listed here, as actually all of them I would say are new. Different color schemes as far as some of the other ones go, the previous releases. That really cool looking bioluminescent Parasaurolophus, love that. We've obviously got the Tarbosaurus there, which is one we didn't have in mini form before, and you can also see others up here like the Seats and Irritator are also going to be given the minifigure treatment, so that is super exciting. Cannot wait to start seeing those hit stores. But the entire thing has me so unbelievably psyched for this Carnotaurus, so let's go ahead, break this out of the box, and take a look at this gigantic figure right now. So after some construction of our Super Colossal Carnotaurus, as well as the Papo T-Rex kind of photobombing us back there, you can see that our Carnotaurus is put together and is just ridiculously large. Absolutely huge. In fact, the tail runs all the way back here above some of these statues that I have over here. The tail actually is a really good length. I know often we complain about the length of the tails on Mattel figures, but this one in no way, shape, or form has a short tail, which the Colossal figures I feel like usually do have some pretty good length in the tail department, and this Carnotaurus is no exception. But you can see that the entire thing is just unbelievable. Such a presence to this figure because it is so huge. I am just beyond psyched about having a Carnotaurus, the Jurassic World style Carnotaurus that is this huge here in my collection. This one is definitely a good candidate for a repaint, so if I happen to see another one at some point soon, I may pick one up just to repaint it, because I feel like a repainted version of this would be insane. But again, the figure is just absolutely awesome, so let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So this Carnotaurus may prove to be one of the most difficult reviews that I've ever done, because he is so large and there are so many dinosaurs that I have currently near my review station. He's just whacking everything with his body parts. But as you can see here, the head of the Carnotaurus is insanely well sculpted. Like, there is just extraordinary amounts of detail included in the head sculpt of this Carnotaurus, as well as some beautiful paint application, really replicating Carnotaurus Toro quite nicely. You can see that the eye paint is a nice yellow, given a black pupil, and it has a very realistic and lifelike glossy look to it, which is something that you often find with the Mattel figures, and it looks great on this Carnotaurus. You can also see the nostrils sculpted out up here at the snout. The detail around the eye looks fantastic as well. The scale detail on the head sculpt of this Carnotaurus is just gorgeous. Like, it's really vibrant, way more vibrant than what we see on the smaller Carnotaurus figures from Mattel, and you can even see that down here on the lower jaw, like such a really nice scale detail, as well as some beautiful like osteoderms and stuff showing up here and there throughout the figure on the lower jaw. You have, of course, this like reddish orangish brown up here, and then you have that darker brown that runs down over the face. You can see runs down back here. Lots of really nice kind of like a almost an armored type of a look, but like osteoderms and stuff. And again, we have that same type of detail up here on the top of the head. But the lower jaw has a nice light coloration, kind of an off-white, and we can, of course, open the mouth of our Carnotaurus. The lower jaw and upper jaw both open so that the Carnotaurus gets a gigantic, gaping, wide-open mouth. And you can see that the teeth look really good, and they're also painted with an off-white bordering on a yellow, so it's a very nice, realistic coloration, I would say. You can also see the kind of like skin flaps here, the side of the mouth. They look really good. Nice coloration for those as well. The tongue itself is painted really nicely with kind of a dark pink. It's a little hard to get a good angle on them because I just don't have the room, it seems, in here to really get a good angle to show you that tongue. But the tongue looks really good, and you can also see the gloss coat is really beautifully applied. Very nice, very realistic saliva-like look, but you can also see the upper side of the inside of the mouth sports that really nice gloss coat and some decent detailing. Not too much going on in there, but there is definitely some. And then, of course, we have the hole back there in the throat that can allow you to swallow numerous different Mattel figures if they do, in fact, fit in the mouth of the Carnotaurus. You can see the top of the head as well. Again, sports those really cool, like osteoderms, like almost spiky like osteoderms, ridges nearly, I would say. And you can see that the scale detail also looks really nice. And the horns, those trademark Carnotaurus horns, actually have some really nice detail within those as well. And you could definitely see that here looking at them. They have lots of really beautiful fine detailing to the horns, which is really nice to see also. As we move down here into the neck of the Carnotaurus, you can see some nice ridges picking up here on the spinal column of the figure, as well as like osteoderm-like ridges that run along the sides, something we always see portrayed on Carnotaurus, and even the Jurassic World version has captured that quite nicely. The paintwork really looks nice. Like, I really think it looks beautiful and naturally applied. I even love how, like, the brown over here, you can see some of this, like, orangish or reddish brown kind of creeping through the darker brown in certain spots as well. Very realistic application to the paint, and the scale detail continues to just look phenomenal on the figure. The detailing aspect of this Carnotaurus might be one of the most vibrant that I think I've seen from Mattel. You also have like this light gray here, and then it kind of transitions from like a light gray to this off-white here for the underside. It's almost like a light gray dry brushing, actually, which is very interesting to see that that's applied that way. Really cool on the part of Mattel to actually apply some like dry brushing techniques to the figure. And you have nice creasing going on as you lead down here into the throat. You can actually just generally get a good idea of what the throat looks like right there on the Carnotaurus, and again some more really nice detailing with the creases and beautiful skin texture down there. As we move down further into the body, you see more of those kind of ridges and osteoderms and stuff, and then as you hit this area right here, they kind of start to pick up another row down here, and they're really big ones actually down here, so the osteoderms get even larger in that area, and you can see more of that darker brown kind of spotting down and designing down into the body of our Carnotaurus. Really beautiful detailing here in the stomach region. In some areas that almost look like they would be potentially injuries like that, like potentially some scars that we would have on our Carnotaurus. And if you have watched Camp Cretaceous Season 1, you'll know that Toro was kind of an angry Carnotaurus, so it's very understandable that he would have some injuries at some point, excluding the one on his face. But as you move down here, you can see some nice creasing and stuff, nice detailing here in the joint of the arm. And then we get down into our arm. The Carnotaurus arm is a nice off-white like we see for the underside. Very nicely detailed, very reminiscent of the Carnotaurus from Camp Cretaceous, which looks really, really good. There is no nail paint on the hands, unfortunately, which is a little downside, but really not much of one. As you lead back here into the stomach region, you can see more beautiful skin wrinkles and skin detail to the underside here, the lower part of the stomach of the Carnotaurus. And then you can see that again, we have that kind of like light dry brushing of that gray in that area as well. As we head back into the hip region of the Carnotaurus, you can see more of those ridges and osteoderms up there on the back, as well as the nice variations of like that primary orangish brown, reddish brown type color, and then the darker brown. And you can also see that it spots down in a few places, but it actually ends right here past the hip. And then you can see down here in the thigh region that you have a very large, very muscular looking thigh on our Carnotaurus, as well as some osteoderms and some beautiful scale detail as we lead down the length of the thigh. You can see the kneecap right here in the front of the leg, as well as some nice creasing there in the joint of the knee. As the Carnotaurus foot smacks the camera, you can see a very large bulging calf muscle as well. which is again exactly what you would expect to find on a dinosaur like this, a very muscular appearance. And then we lead down into the foot. The foot has some beautiful scoots down the course of the toes, and then the foot gets extremely close to the camera, but you can see the detailing of the feet looks great. Really nice scoots down the course of the toes, which you can see beautifully right there, as well as some nicely painted nails with a very dark gray, and they as well have a glossy appearance to them, so they have a very nice realistic shine. If you look at the opposing foot back there, you can see a dew claw is present, but unfortunately it is not painted. And then as we lead out the length of the tail, you can again see that the dark brown paint up there on the top does cut off before we actually reach the tail, which is definitely a little bit of a downside. I really would have preferred that the dark brown color runs out the length of the tail, but it is what it is. I still think the figure overall looks fantastic. You can see some really nice kind of fine scaling here on the underside of the tail, as well as some more skin wrinkles and stuff showing some more movement of our Carnotaurus. And then up here you can see again the really nice kind of ridges and osteoderms and stuff that are all over the Carnotaurus like you usually find. And then you lead out the length of the tail, and that tail is definitely very long. You can see it goes quite far, and in fact, because of the things on the left side of my camera, I can't even currently get it all into frame, but it definitely looks really, really nice. And it also has a slight curve to it. It comes out and then curves in and then comes back this way. There's a better shot there, I would think, of the curve of the tail. You can definitely see how it curves in a left-leaning position there as you get closer to the end of the tail. We also have actually some of the trademark Mattel spots on the figure, which I didn't even notice at first. This one has like a dark black spotting all over the figure, and it is actually present throughout the entire body, which is definitely something interesting to take note of. And then on this side of the head, we have that trademark Carnotaurus Toro wound right there. You can see that it is actually painted with a really nice glossy red, so it has a realistic appearance somewhat as far as a blood coloration goes, and definitely is a really cool addition to the figure, making it obviously very Toro-like. Get a better shot of it now that I've moved it around a little bit right there. You can definitely see that wound, and the wound actually runs up here onto the top of the head as well. But you can also take note to the fact that the eyes are really beautifully painted. There is no sloppiness as far as the paintwork goes on this Carnotaurus at all. If we take a look here at the underside of our Carnotaurus, you can see that the detailing here on the underside of the lower jaw and throat region all looks really nice. You have beautiful scale detail here, even on the underside of your Carnotaurus. And then as we lead back here into the lower part of the stomach, you have that latch for you to get the dinosaurs back out of once you devour them with your Carnotaurus. And then the light coloration here cuts off again a little bit past the hip region on the underside, just like the dark brown cuts off on the upper side. But the detailing aspect continues to look honestly phenomenal the entire way out of this beautiful Carnotaurus's tail. As far as a size goes, and this is definitely difficult to achieve considering I'm holding the camera and trying to measure this with one hand, and he's just so gigantically huge, but you were looking at about the, I would say 15-inch range in height, or about the 38.5, 39 centimeter range, maybe 15.25 inches overall. Definitely huge. Probably not very visible from your vantage point, but I can definitely see it outside of the camera. That is approximately the height. And of course, that height is going to depend on how upright you want your Carnotaurus to stand. This is being measured here at kind of a more natural walking position, I would say, but you can obviously stand it up very tall if you would like. And then for a length on your Carnotaurus, you are looking at right around, even though it's upside down currently, but you are looking at right around the 39-inch range, or about pretty much 100 centimeters on the dot almost, so insanely, insanely large. And then as far as articulation goes on our Carnotaurus, you can, of course, see that we have the articulation in the jaw, which I had stated earlier. It can move up and down, so both the upper jaw and lower jaw moves, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time if this is shaky, because again, the Carnotaurus is so huge, I can't actually put the camera up on the stand. It just takes so much room up. I have to actually leave the camera here sitting on its tripod on my knees, so it's not the most stable area in the world to have a camera stand. But we also have articulation, of course, if I can move him back up now, in the arm area, so the arms can move, and of course the articulation is the same on both sides. And then back here we have articulation in the hip region as well as down in the ankle. So if you are familiar with the Mattel figures, it's the exact same articulation that you usually see. Nothing different as far as that goes. And actually, before I even go any further, I did miss one area of articulation. We actually have articulation in the neck, so we can turn the Carnotaurus's head right there. We can turn the head any direction as far as the swivel that you want. It doesn't actually go all the way around. It does stop right there, but you can make him look left and right. And then, of course, we have the articulation in the tail back here. So it can move left, right. And then you can also, if I can move it past that point, you have articulation back here as well, so you can swivel this spot as well, which is a very interesting area of articulation for your Carnotaurus. As far as a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Super Colossal Carnotaurus, and I think at this point you can obviously tell that this thing is gigantic. If you have any of the colossal figures before this, like the Tyrannosaurus Indominus or Velociraptor Blue, you'll probably already have a pretty good idea as far as the size of a colossal figure goes, but if you do not, then hopefully this image right here will give you a good idea of the fact that these things are just gigantic in every way, shape, or form. It is huge, and these figures hopefully will help to show you that. And as far as a comparison with other colossal figures goes, we'll have to take you outside because I don't have enough room up here to put two colossal figures in one spot, so... And we are now outside. Here is our Carnotaurus with the other three releases of the Super Colossal figures. And of course I mean sculpt-wise, as there were two different paint variants of the Tyrannosaurus with a battle damage and a normal version. But you can also see, of course, our Velociraptor Blue and Indominus Rex Colossal figures here next to our gorgeous Carnotaurus. Probably some of my favorites that Mattel has released so far, and hopefully you'll have a good idea of the overall size of these figures in comparison to each other. All look just incredible together. So as far as this Super Colossal Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous Carnotaurus from Mattel goes, this is a beast of a figure, and easily one of the most impressive figures that Mattel has released so far. Of course, I'm a little biased because it's a Carnotaurus, and Carnotaurus is my favorite dinosaur of all time, so I'm obviously going to be leaning toward the love pouring out to this figure, but that's just the way it's going to be. And even if you're not a gigantic fan of Carnotaurus, if you're just a Mattel fan in general, I feel like you're probably going to share that same opinion of the figure, because honestly, once you have it here in hand, it is just unbelievable in every way. The size is massive. Of course, every time you get a Super Colossal figure from Mattel, it's just something to behold how huge these figures are. And again, Mattel has pretty much been giving us dream-worthy figures for a very long time now, and this Carnotaurus is without question, in my opinion, a dream-worthy figure for me, because I love the Jurassic World Carnotaurus. I think that the overall design and the paint scheme that they've gone with is absolutely awesome. And I also am a big fan of Toro from Camp Cretaceous. I think that Carnotaurus is absolutely awesome too, so to have a large Super Colossal sized version of that Carnotaurus is incredibly cool. On top of all of that, the actual detailing of this Carnotaurus I feel like is even better than what you see normally from Mattel. Like, it's honestly mind-bogglingly beautiful here in person. Definitely a great figure that would be a candidate for a repaint, because with detail this nice, the model would probably just paint itself. And there's lots of really nice cracks and crevices between the scales that would be a great way to apply a nice dark wash. And again, the detailing is just so vibrant, like unbelievably vibrant in comparison to some of the previous Mattel releases. They usually give us some really nice detail on our figures, but I don't recall it being quite as vibrant as what you see here on this Carnotaurus, especially in the face. It's honestly insanely nice. The paintwork as well is pretty much your standard paintwork as far as a Mattel figure goes. We don't have anything that's brand new and crazy on this figure in comparison to others, because we of course have the dark brown on the top and the light coloration of the underside cut off before we reach the tail, which could have been something improved upon, but at the same time it's not that big of a deal because it's something we're used to at this point from Mattel. But I think that the paint application is really nice and naturally applied, and overall looks great on the figure. As well as sporting some awesome articulation. That's another thing that's really fun about the figure. You've got lots and lots of articulation on this. And a tail that is nice and long. It's not short like you see on the smaller scale Carnotaurus figures from Mattel. This one honestly has a really nicely sized tail, so everything about this figure, in my opinion, is insanely impressive, and I could not be happier to officially have this Carnotaurus in my collection. Again, when I spoke to an employee at Target, they had told me that the street date was the 20th of this month, so June 20th. I don't know for sure if that's just my store or if that's everywhere, but that's the day that these should start to appear regularly amongst different Targets, I hope, according to the employee I spoke to. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed, and these should start to show up a lot more frequently sooner rather than later. And make sure before you go heading off to buy this awesome Carnotaurus at Target, you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.